Hello everybody. Next up we venture north to the East Midlands for the last league game of the season, where we'll be hosted by Leicester City. Kick-off at the King Power Stadium is, as is the case with all Premier League matches this Sunday, at 4:30pm. And Sky Sports have decided to pick this one up for broadcast, much in the manner of vultures hovering over what is soon to become carrion. So if you are staying at home and watching this one on the box, be prepared for numerous updates from Goodison Park and Elland Road to pop in at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen while you watch it. So Leicester then. Oh dear are the two words that leap to mind. They will look back on the Winter World Cup with the same sort of affection as the migrant workers used to build the stadia did. Such momentum as they have been able to build up, coming to a crashing halt in the manner of one of those motor journalists who writes off a £1 million supercar by getting confused by the prototype vehicle's revolutionary gear change system and accidentally selecting reverse whilst doing 180 mile an hour on the manufacturer's test track. Having had a wretched start to the season that saw them follow an opening day draw with 6 consecutive defeats, their following 8 matches saw them win 5, draw 1 and lose just the 2. Their last win before the break being a 2-0 win against us at the Olympic Stadium, in which they barely had to turn up to claim the 3 points, such was our form at the time. That saw them reach the dizzy heights of 13th, as the world's attention was then focused on the Middle East. However, their return following the break was slightly less than impressive, losing 14 of the last 21 played, with only 3 wins and 4 draws adding to their total. Clearly such form was regarded as not sustainable, and Brendan Rodgers was handed the football equivalent of the pearl-handed revolver at the start of April, being replaced by what many considered to be the rather uninspiring choice of Dean Smith, whose efforts have been assisted by Craig Shakespeare and the obnoxious John Terry. To nobody's surprise, things have barely improved since, with just the 1 win against a disinterested Wolves side and a couple of no-use-to-anyone draws against Leeds and Everton adding to the credit side of their equation. Under normal circumstances, Monday's 0-0 draw against the Geordies might have been regarded as useful, despite the one-sided nature of the match that was so dominated by the home side I thought my TV had been placed on a slope. However, it was widely regarded by the faithful as a postponement of the inevitable, with one tweet likening the situation to that of a family pet that had been clipped by a car awaiting the arrival of someone with a garden spade to put the poor creature out of its misery. All is, of course, not actually lost. There are 2 less than coveted places up for grabs in next season's championship, with Leeds in 19th spot on 31 points and a minus 27 goal difference, the Foxes in 18th place with 31 and minus 18, and Everton in 17th place with 33 and minus 24. So the equation's fairly clear. Leicester need to win and hope that Everton lose at home to Bournemouth. That should be good enough for them, although there is a scenario whereby Leeds could still stay up. However, that would require them to win their last game by 9 more goals than Leicester manage, which clearly is most unlikely. There again, Leeds are playing Spurs. Daisy informs me that whilst they brought in 3 permanent players plus a loan signing back in January, one of the permanent deals, Nathan Opoku's arrival from American outfit Ventura Country Fusion and/or Syracuse University, blame the scholarship system for that one, for a nominal fee was followed by the player's immediate departure for Leveron. Leicester stated that they wanted the player to go and get more of a feel for European football before trying to get him into the first team. Though with the player yet to gain his first full cap for his native Ghana, it appears more likely that Belgium's more lenient work permit rules may have resulted in Leveron being used as a dumping ground while the player builds up enough points to qualify for the relevant documentation. Back in defence, they brought in young left-back Victor Christiansen from Copenhagen, the £17 million fee being a club and indeed league record for the Danes. He's been capped at pretty much every level by the Danes except full. He was a regular on the left-hand side until quite recently. However, since the Everton game, Luke Thomas has been preferred. Another possible incumbent for the left-back slot, the primarily right-sided James Justin, has now returned to full fitness after a lousy couple of years. However, he was left out of the Premier League squad pending the repair to his Achilles, and so he isn't an option. The third arrival came in the form of Harry Souttar, the central defender arrived from Stoke for an undisclosed fee of £15 million, with a possible £5 million to come in add-ons. Scottish born and bred, he elected to represent Australia, the country of his mother's birth. He was part of their squad in Qatar, thus providing an alternative response to the old joke/riddle, what do you call a Scotsman at the World Cup? Interestingly, his older brother John, who plays for Rangers, elected to stick with Scotland. Suter Jr. is the subject of this week's Pointless Stat of the Week award, as Daisy informs me that he is the second tallest player ever to play for Australia. Daisy couldn't be bothered to look up who the tallest is, and frankly I can't say I blame her. The new arrivals list was completed by the arrival of Tete. Although nominally on the books at Shakhtar Donetsk, the Brazilian's been out on loan with Lyon due to the situation in Ukraine. He's on the loan books until the end of the season, and although he scored on his debut against Villa, few expect him to stay beyond this summer. Let's move on, shall we, to the wild and wacky world of association football, and the Tottenham soap opera continues to delight, as anyone they think about appointing as manager goes public about their desire to give the place a wide berth. The latest to join the not with a barge pole brigade was Feyenoord boss Arne Slot, who announced that he wasn't going anywhere, and even if he were, Tottenham would rank well below FC Chernobyl and an appointment for anaesthetic-free root canal surgery on his list of priorities. Still, I expect Allardyce will be free about 6:30 on Sunday evening. Talking of whom, the portly one took time out from explaining to anyone who would listen how he was personally responsible for us being in a European final and how his influence led to Man City's third title in a row, to have a joke at the expense of the fourth official at the weekend. Finding a fiver on the floor, the world's most visionary coach, it says here, pretended to bribe the official, providing much mirth. What people didn't know was the fact that Allardyce trousered the fiver. Well, obviously. And so on to us. It took a few minutes for us to get going last weekend, but in the end, the only mystery about the 3-1 win over Leeds was how the hell we didn't actually score 3 or 4 more. There are a number of occasions where we seem to go all unselfish trying to sort out a teammate, lest they feel left out of proceedings, rather than simply burying the flipping thing. Still, it was nice to see remnants of the old West Ham back, wasn't it? Paquetá was simply outstanding. His work for Lanzini's goal has already been replayed a few million times in these parts, I can tell you. It's taken him a while, but he seems to have come to terms with the pace of the game in the Premier League, and that's enabled him to make better decisions as to when and when not to display those eye-catching turns. On the injury front, we have 3. Scamacca has resumed light training, but is still out. Agard has a knock, and whether he plays will depend largely on Mr. Moyes' appetite for risking players in advance of the final. Flynn Downs is suffering from a good old-fashioned no-nonsense common cold. None of you fancy it's a viral infections here. Well, okay, it is, but you know what I mean. Another player who may be missing is Jared Bowen. He may well be in need of a good night's kip, with the other half having given birth to twin girls the other day. A lifetime of having the women in his life ganging up on him awaits him, and whilst the prospect of being kicked up in the air by an opposition fullback might appeal as some form of relief from the 3 a.m. feeds and nappy changes at the moment, Mr. Moyes may think Bowen will need all the recovery time possible between now and 7th of June. And that's a general theme which will be repeated throughout the squad as the manager tries to juggle the need to keep the momentum of recent weeks with the need to keep players fresh and injury-free ahead of the final. There is, of course, also the little matter of the need to be seen to be doing the right thing by Leeds and Everton. Though frankly, of the 3 sides involved, Leicester are by far and away the one I'd rather see stay up. The problem with that is, it would require a hell of a lot more backbone from Leicester than they've shown of late. Yeah, as I mentioned, getting a draw up at Newcastle wasn't that bad, but it owed an awful lot to the Geordies being slightly off colour in the final third, and a set of goalposts that were hit so often they're probably going on strike as we speak. The overall impression one got from the evening's events was that they were resigned to the inevitable and jolly well surprised when it didn't actually happen. For that reason, I'll be placing the £2.50 that I managed to spot on the floor and beat Allardyce to picking up on an away win. Off shall I traipse to Winston's, the turf accountant, and I'll stick the whole belly lot on a score of 2-1 to us. Enjoy the game.
James Corden.
Hi.
Big West Ham fan.
Yes. And big knees up Mother Brown, man.
Yeah.
Get on the forum at kumb.com. Come on, you irons.